everyone, my name is Shauna, in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the 20 questions book tag. So I wasn't able to find the original tag creator for this tag because I found like multiple different people linked under other YouTubers' videos about who the creator was. Like I found a Goodreads account linked, I found a blog linked, I found a YouTuber I believe that was linked. Like I don't think it's clear who created it, but I'll keep doing more research. If I find the original creator, I will put it down in the description below, but as of right now, multiple different people online are being credited as the creator, so I'm not really sure. I've had this tag saved in my notes app for like the longest time to do, which is where like most of my tags are. I literally find a tag and I'm like, ooh, that looks fun, and I copy the questions and I put them in the notes app, so they're always on my laptop and I can just like open the notes app whenever I want to do a book tag. I went through a couple years where I was like hyper fixated on book tags and I saved like every single one I wanted to do, so there's at least like 50 I have saved, so I've got to get through all of them eventually, right? I doubt I'm gonna do all of them, but let's crack on into this. And these are just 20 questions that I'm gonna be trying to go through fairly quickly because I have some schoolwork I need to do today, but let's see how fast I can do all 20 questions. The first question is, how many books is too many books in a series? I have a lot of mixed feelings on this. I think there's a lot of series that I've read that really feel like way too long and that feel like it was dragged on way too long. But at the same time, I've read some really long series where it has felt perfect. Like it has felt like it fits the series, it just felt like there isn't tons of filler and stuff. So I don't know if there's like a perfect, like this is the correct number of books in a series, like don't go past this or whatever. I think it just depends on the story, it depends on how the author is writing it, because you don't want a lot of filler in a series. I don't know, I'm just really torn on it. I don't really have one set answer. I would say that I get intimidated though if a series is over 6 books, and with manga I get a little intimidated if it's over 24 volumes. However, when it's over 6 books, or for manga, if it's over 24 volumes, I find that sometimes there's a lot of filler shoved in there. Not all of them though, but some of them. But it's not like I'm gonna like see a series and be like, that is too many books, I'm not gonna get into it. So I give any series a chance. That wasn't really a definitive answer, but oh well. I don't really know if I can give a definitive answer for this question. Question number 2 is, how do you feel about cliffhangers? Okay, I have really mixed feelings on cliffhangers because I get frustrated by them like most people do. However, I think it's a good way to get people interested in reading more. And I think sometimes when it comes to like big fantasy series and stuff, I'd rather have a cliffhanger than have like a huge action scene with like a couple chapters just trying to wrap it up in this like cozy happy way, because not all books need to end in like, oh, this is so cozy and happy. I think there is some appeal to cliffhangers, and I think it does keep people motivated to keep reading the series. So I get a little frustrated by them, but I don't hate them because I think they have a purpose, and I think sometimes they work. Another question that I don't have one definitive answer on, and I'm so sorry about that. Question number 3, hard copy or paperback? I have really mixed feelings on this as well. Hardcovers to me are a lot more durable. They stand up over the course of time better, they don't show as many signs of wear. However, I personally like the feel of a paperback better, specifically a used paperback with a cracked spine. That is beautiful. When they just like pop open on their own, you don't have to like hold it open. I love that. But paperbacks get a lot more thrashed and damaged quickly, and they obviously show more signs of wear and tear. I tend to have more paperbacks. Like looking at my shelf right now, I'm seeing mostly paperbacks, and that's because I don't have a ton of money and paperbacks are what I can afford. Question number 4, favorite book. Currently, it is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I love the Harry Potter series. It's my favorite series. I don't support the author though. I'm just reading copies that I've had for years and years on my shelf. And I think as I've gotten older, I've really grown to love Prisoner of Azkaban more. The Marauders is a part of the series that I have had more and more interest in as I've gotten older. I think too, the pacing is just so wonderful in Prisoner of Azkaban. I think there's tons and tons of great moments. Unfortunately, I think once you get like Goblet of Fire to Deathly Hallows, there is a bit slower parts in there. Like the first 3 books have just like perfect pacing, and so Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite at the moment, but it has changed a lot. Like in the past, Deathly Hallows sometimes has been my favorite, Order of the Phoenix sometimes has been my favorite, Goblet of Fire sometimes has been my favorite, but currently it's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Least favorite book of The Odyssey. The Odyssey. I hate The Odyssey with a burning passion, and I think it has to stem with the fact that I really did not like my high school English teacher who was teaching The Odyssey. There's a lot of butting heads and stuff in there, and I also think that the Odyssey just like drags on. Like it doesn't need to be as long as it is. It's written in verse, but it's written in this really confusing verse where I didn't understand most of it. And a huge thing for me is if I don't understand a book and I'm confused and I'm having to like look up what sentences and passages mean, the book's not working for me. I prefer to be able to understand what I'm reading. But it's weird though, because some of the more recent adaptations of the Odyssey, or things relating to the Odyssey, have caught my interest. Like I read Circe a while ago, and Circe was a pretty good book, but that's like directly connected to the Odyssey. And Epic the Musical, I've been listening to the songs from that and I really love those, but it's connected to the Odyssey, and I don't know. I just really don't like the Odyssey, but I think it's because of that hell of a year I had in school when I studied the Odyssey. Love triangles, yes or no? I don't know. I think a lot of my favorite series have love triangles in it. I think that love triangles can be really overdone though, and sometimes it really frustrates me because I don't like when love triangles like border on cheating. Like that always really irks me. And also I always end up rooting for the wrong person in the love triangle. Always. I don't think there's been any love triangle that I've read where I've rooted for the correct person. I've always rooted for the person who doesn't end up with the character in the end. So I have a lot of mixed feelings on it. I think as a society, we are moving away from love triangles, which I don't really mind. I think it works. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. I'm having a lot of mixed feelings about a lot of these questions. Question number 7, the most recent book you just couldn't finish. I don't DNF books unless it impacts my mental health, so I haven't DNF'd a book since 2019, I think. Yeah, in 2019 I DNF'd 2 books at the same time. I DNF'd Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, and I DNF'd Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. My reason for DNFing the 2 of these is that they were impacting my mental health a ton. Pretty Girls is a horror book, and there is intense suicide in there, intense graphic rape descriptions in there, and it was just really unnerving and unsettling, and it made me like super paranoid. But at the same time, I was also reading Into the Water, and Into the Water also heavily involves suicide and graphic descriptions of sexual assault. And so the 2 of them made me really depressed and also really paranoid. And so I had to DNF both at the same time, unfortunately. And I was reading one on my phone and one on my laptop, and I was like feeling like obligated to continue reading. And I literally had to look up how to like fully delete them off my devices so that I couldn't re-download them and like feel any sort of like obligation to finish them. Although I still feel an obligation to finish them, and I might go back and finish them at some point. Ugh. I hate that I do that. I hate that my brain does that. I feel like my life would be so much happier if I could just quit things, but I can't when it comes to books and TV series. If I start them, I have to finish them, unfortunately. Question number 8, a book you're currently reading. I am currently reading By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. I may have finished it by the time that this video is uploaded. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that's an adult romance, and it follows this girl who is working for a publishing company, and she's sort of like stuck in a standstill. Like she's not really progressing and she's not really enjoying like her time with the publishing company anymore, but she overhears her boss like talking about this client of theirs who has this big book deal, and he's a celebrity and he hasn't submitted anything and he's not been responding to emails. And so the main character, Izzy, decides to volunteer herself to go and convince him to write his book and get it published so they can get it rolling. I'm not really vibing with it so far, but I'm like a little less than 50% of the way through, so it may change. My thoughts on it may change. I may end up liking it, who knows? Question number 9, last book you recommended to someone? I'm not really sure off the top of my head, but I have been recommending individual woman activists writing to different people. I'm taking a writing class right now that's woman activism and social change, and we have like 2 textbooks. This is like older writing, this is newer writing, and I've been recommending a little bit of like bits and pieces here and there to people. Let me take a quick flip through and see who I've recommended recently. So from the older one, I've recommended From the Introduction to the Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir. This is just an interesting reframing of defining who a woman is and trying to define it less in terms of body parts and in terms of like a woman's relationship to a man, which I find really interesting, and I think it's just really fascinating. And I mean, it is written in this type of English that is a bit hard to read at times, but the conversation that was happening in this like excerpt was really good. That's something that we're still discussing today that I think is a huge thing that needs to be discussed more. I've also recommended Andrea Dworkin, and this one was her speech that was, "I want a 24-hour truce during which there is no rape." She basically went to a men's convention and did a very intense yet good speech. In this one, she's calling men out for their complacency, even if they think that they are truly for equality. And it's very intense, but really good. And I'm really surprised that she was able to do that speech to this group of men, but I think it was really good. And I think we need more people like her. So that was from the older one. And from the newer one, the one that I've thought about a lot that I've mentioned to people is, I can't find the exact name of it right now. Wait, I think I might have found it. I feel like I'm close. Nope, I'm not close. Oh, no, I am close. Here it is. Chanel Miller's Victim Impact Statement from People vs. Turner. Very intense, but very good. And I think a must read for everyone if you can handle it, but it is very intense and triggering. Question number 10, oldest book you've read. Probably the Bible. I mean, I didn't read it from cover to cover, but I've read a good portion of it. I grew up in a religious family and I went to church every Sunday and I studied the Bible pretty intensely. There's some books in the Bible that I've studied a lot more than others, like Ephesians, I studied really intensely, and Genesis. Those two stick out to me as ones that I've studied really intensely. But yeah, Bible's probably the oldest one. But if you want to talk about ones that I've read all the way through that aren't the Bible, probably the Odyssey, honestly. Question number 11, the newest book you've read. I'm going to use Goodreads for this. I haven't been reading as many new books recently, but sometimes I read arcs, so maybe it's going to be an arc. Yeah, I'm really behind on my arc reading. I have a bunch of arcs I need to read, but the most recent book that's been published that said that I read is Sunrise on the Reaping, which is Haymitch's game in the Hunger Games series. I feel like I don't need to go too much into that, but honestly, it might be my favorite one in the series, or it's tied with Catching Fire. It was so incredible. One of the best books that I've read this year. Highly recommend if you're into the Hunger Games, or even if you aren't into the Hunger Games. I think that given everything going on in our country currently, if you live in the US, I think that this is the perfect time to get into the Hunger Games and read it. Question number 13, buying books or borrowing books. Buying. When I borrow, I get so concerned about damaging the book, and then I'm like trying to read, but I'm like, I can't crack that spine. I'm like scared that I'm gonna give it back and it's gonna be damaged, so I tend to buy books more than borrow them. Question number 14, a book you dislike that everyone seems to like. A Corner of Thorns and Roses. Also, can I just say, I have now gotten into Sarah J. Maas more. I love Crescent City and Throne of Glass. Why are her fans so vile if you say that you don't like A Court of Thorns and Roses, specifically the first book, because that's the only one that I've read? And collectively, most people agree that the first book is not great compared to the rest of the series, but if you criticize it online, you get vile hate. I do not understand. I do not understand. I just really don't like A Court of Thorns and Roses because I didn't really like any of the characters. The only character that I legitimately like sort of liked was Lucian. And the other problem that I had with it was that the two love interests in the series sexually assault the main character in the first book. And I mean, one of the assaults is done in a way to save the main character's life, which I don't like that. I don't like the concept of like the sexual assault is okay because he was doing it to save her life. Anyways, I have a whole rant about A Court of Thorns and Roses up on my YouTube channel, and it'll be linked down in the description below. I need to finish reading the rest of the series because it's connected to one of my favorite series that I've read this year, Crescent City. However, I'm not looking forward to it, and I feel like it's going to be a drag, but maybe the characters will grow on me. Rysand or whatever his name is, and Tamlin definitely won't. The other characters, there's a potential that they will grow on me. Question number 15, bookmarks or dog ears? Bookmarks 100%. I also have like OCD where my brain is like, you have to use this bookmark and you can't change this bookmark, and I've been stuck with that OCD compulsion since literally 2019. I have been using 2020. I've been using the same bookmark since 2020 because my brain has convinced me that bad things will happen if I switch my bookmark. OCD is weird. OCD is really weird. And yeah, I don't like this idea in society and in media how OCD is viewed as cleanliness, when my OCD compulsion, like one of the most distressing ones to me, is that I have to use the same bookmark. Like, it's just so weird. I hate OCD so much. I hate having OCD. Question number 16, a book you can always reread. Harry Potter. It is the only series that I am actively rereading. I reread it every year. That being said, I really want to reread Crescent City. It was my hyperfixation for most of 2025, and I really want to reread it. I've cosplayed Rune so far, and I have a Therian cosplay that I am sort of working on. I've been planning it out. I just don't have the money for it. I probably won't have the money for it until like late next year, but I really want to do him. I have his wig though. I have an orange wig that I got for a different character, and they sent me the wrong wig, and then they wouldn't give me my money back, and I think I'm just gonna curl it. I'm gonna use it for Therian. Question number 17, can you read whilst hearing music? No. I used to be able to, but the way my brain has worked recently is if I'm hearing something, I can't process and take in another thing. So like if I'm watching TV, I can only watch it if there isn't other noise going on. If someone's watching TV in another room, I can't watch TV because my brain can't focus. So if I'm trying to read a book, it's the same thing. It has to be quiet when I'm reading or else I can't focus. Like it's just really frustrating, but it is the way that my brain works. So I don't know. I need to work on it. I don't know what's going on with my brain. Question number 18, one POV or multiple POVs. I don't have a preference. I like both of them. I think there's a charm to both of them. I also think that it really depends on the story. Like some stories definitely works better with one POV, while other stories it works better with more than one POV. I definitely do have a preference though between like third person or first person. Like I really like first person in my books. However, I know that a lot of popular books use third person, but I don't really have a preference between one POV and multiple POVs. I also sometimes find it fun in romance books if there's multiple POVs and you get like both sides of the partnership. I really love that and I think that's really cute in books. And I think that works really well. With romance books, I guess I do have a preference, but with other types of books like fantasy and stuff, I don't really have a preference between one POV or multiple POVs. Question number 19, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? I read manga in one sitting and graphic novels in one sitting. I view those as sort of like short books that I do when I'm behind on my reading goals or if I'm just in the mood to like crack through a bunch of books at once. However, like actual novels, I have to spread it out. I don't really have the attention span anymore to sit down and binge read a whole book in one sitting. I used to. I don't anymore. And the final question is question number 20. One book you read because of the cover. I have a lot of cover reads. I love me a good pretty cover. For this one, I'm going to go with a manga. I'm going to go with The Vampire in the Bathhouse by Nico Izuki. I thought that this cover was stunning. And I was like, I need this in my life. And also the fact that it's like a vampire story. And so I picked it up and I read it. So this vampire who hears about this bathhouse and he decides to go crash that bathhouse and live there. And it's sort of like the shenanigans in there. It's very queer-coded, which I love, and I don't know, it's just a really fun standalone manga. So that's one that I read because of the cover. So those were all of the 20 questions in the 20 questions book take. I hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. If you would like to do this tag, all the questions will be down in the description below. I upload one longer video every week, and on the days when I'm not uploading longer videos, I post a lot of YouTube shorts. So I have tons of content up on my page if you're interested in any nerdy content. And until my next video, everyone, goodbye.